Here's my reasons why I hate data science. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Leon. I'm a data scientist based in the UK. So in one of my videos, I talked about why I love data science, but since life is all about balance, it wouldn't make sense for me to not talk about why I don't like data science as well. Now, obviously, I like data science more than I don't like it, which is why I started learning data science in the first place. But I think it's important to consider the negatives of any career so that you can make the best decision. After all, you don't want to invest so much time into something only to realize that you don't like it. And especially with sunk cost fallacy, it's much harder to back out of something later on down the line. So here are the timestamps, and in this video, I'm going to go over my reasons why I hate data science. Let's get right into it. Data science has a high barrier to entry because it's a combination of maths, computer science, and business. This is what makes data science interesting because there's always something to learn and there's always different ways to solve problems. But if you're somebody new to data science, then it can feel overwhelming due to the amount of content you feel like you have to learn. If you're someone trying to break into data science without any experience, you'll probably also need a master's degree to pass the initial requirements. However, I do think data science is becoming more accessible. I've seen some job postings that require only a bachelor's degree, but you probably still can't get a data science job just by doing certifications and boot camps. You'll still need some sort of formal education or at least a lot of relevant work experience. I've also noticed that the competition for entry-level data science roles is a lot higher nowadays, mainly because there's more data science graduates and there's people that are wanting to transition from an analyst to a data scientist. So you're essentially competing against two groups of people. And then the most annoying thing is that there's a lack of consistency between companies on what a data scientist should be. And the interviews are not really standardized, which makes the entire process of getting a data science job much more frustrating than it really needs to be. And that brings us on to the next part of the video. Data science has a lack of interview standardization and role consistency, and this is probably the most annoying thing about looking for a data science job. Even amongst big tech companies, there can be huge discrepancies between each company on what data scientists actually do. This makes it really hard to figure out what to focus on when applying for these positions. It's also very possible for you to go through the entire interview process only to find out that the role isn't what you were looking for. The only way to avoid this, in my opinion, is to ask the interviewer a lot of questions, but that only works under the assumption that the employer actually knows what they're looking for. Always remember that job descriptions are basically just wish lists for these companies. You don't necessarily have to tick all the boxes to help them solve their problems. The interview process is also very inconsistent between each company. You'll find that some companies might get you to do a take-home project with a presentation, they might make you build a dashboard using Tableau or Power BI, or they might make you do some statistical programming to test your basic understanding of statistics. There's so many different ways each company can carry out data science interviews that it gets really depressing when you're trying to prepare for multiple different companies at the same time. You can use websites like Glassdoor to see other people's interview experiences, but they're not always useful. Most of the time, you just have to go in there and hope that you've prepared enough. To be honest, I don't really know how to solve this lack of standardization in data science. I just hope the industry matures to a point where this won't be an issue anymore, especially for larger established companies. Most of a data scientist's time is spent on cleaning data. Now, I actually don't mind cleaning data, especially for new tasks or projects, but it can get very tedious very quickly. Sometimes it's very possible to spend hours or even days cleaning data only to realize at the end that you can't use it anyway. One of the main issues that I find with cleaning data is that as the volume of data gets larger and larger, if there's no proper data infrastructure in place, then it isn't going to scale very well. I think most data scientists are already comfortable with cleaning a lot of data, but a lot of companies still don't have the proper data infrastructure in place, which is why you're seeing a higher demand for data engineers. Companies are realizing that if you have a team of data scientists spending most of their time cleaning data that really should be automated and scaled, then you're wasting a lot of money because data scientists are not cheap. Ideally, data scientists should be spending most of their time cleaning data the first time around, but then they should be experimenting with the data and have the data cleaning process automated and scaled as much as possible so that they can continue doing the interesting stuff. Otherwise, as the volume of data gets bigger, this will eventually limit data scientists, especially if you want to start productionizing things. I think it's fairly clear from my previous point the importance of having a proper data infrastructure. You can think of it this way. Imagine you're traveling and you have the choice between a car or a bike. The data scientist with no data infrastructure to support him would basically be the person that takes the bike. If you took the bike, then it's better than walking, it's okay for short trips, and it's more flexible if you're in the city. But you're pedaling by yourself, so you'd get tired pretty quickly. You'd only really pick the bike for fun or for exploring the city, and it's not really something you'd choose for long distance journeys. On the contrary, the data scientist that does have a data infrastructure and a team of data engineers to support them would be the person that picks the car. The car itself would represent the data infrastructure with a team of data engineers, and it's what actually enables you to go from one place to another very quickly. Everybody inside the car would be the team of data scientists. The car's expensive and it needs maintenance, but you'll need the car to travel long distances. Bikes are only good for short experimental journeys, they're also cheaper, But at the end of the day, if you want to travel from city to city, you need a car. What I'm basically saying is if your company doesn't have this car, i.e. the data engineers and the data infrastructure, then you're going to have a much harder time as a data scientist. Unfortunately, the reality is most companies don't have this so-called car. Instead, they'll probably have a moped that's a bit rusty with a punctured tire, which sure, it's better than a bike, but you're still on your own and it's not the best mode of transport. So in a previous video where I talked about why I love data science, I said that one of my main reasons was because I can drive impact. Now, data scientists are usually valued based on the impact that they can create, but this can be a double-edged sword. If you can create a lot of impact, then you'll feel very valued and you'll probably feel pretty good about yourself. But if you can't, then that's when things get a little bit awkward. Obviously, people can't expect you to make groundbreaking improvements all the time, but for most data-driven teams, it can definitely feel like you always have this pressure to do something meaningful. I've been in the situation where as an analyst, I felt like I couldn't contribute anything meaningful to the team, and I can say from experience that it's not a good place to be in. I've also noticed that some companies don't have a general data science team, and instead they'll have a data scientist for each specific product. If your company has a product that's not very data science driven, then this really limits how much impact you can create. What ends up happening is you'll get a lot of friction between you and the team, and you'll end up getting alienated. In this kind of situation, it's more about pure politics rather than actually driving impact using data science with a little bit of politics. However, if you're a data scientist for a general data science team, then you could just work on something else. But even then, if the leaders of the team don't agree with your opinion, then you still can't create impact, which means you're not creating value. Unfortunately, you won't really know what the company culture and structure is like until you actually work there for a while. The only way you can avoid this kind of situation is by asking more questions in the interviews and hope you make the right decision. So with all that being said, I obviously like data science quite a bit, as you can see from these videos up here. And if I've made you not like data science, then don't worry, hopefully I'll change your mind with this video up here on why I love data science. You can also follow me on Instagram, and if you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.